Hi, I'm Rachel McLeod, licensed clinical social worker and emotional wellness coach. And today I'm going to be talking to you about why your brain and your mind gets all busy when you're about to go to sleep and what to do about that. This is a common symptom of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress, and um, and it's really frustrating. Uh, you know, you're busy all day because or you're busy fighting your mental issues, and you get ready to go to bed. You get in there, and then all of a sudden your brain just wants to solve all your problems that's going wrong, and what if this and what if that, and go into all these what if crazy scenarios that are never likely going to happen. And you know that this is not what you're supposed to be doing. This is not how you want to use your time, but um, your brain doesn't care and it wants to do it anyway. And so I want to talk to you about how the brain functions, why this is taking place. When you understand these things, then we can demystify it, right? And also you can start taking the steps to resolve this, because when you lay down, it's a nice time to go to sleep, instead of laying there and thinking about all the problems. And this will save you a lot of time, and it really interrupts your health, right? Because if it takes you 2-3 hours to get to sleep at night, those are 2 and 3 hours you're not getting at the optimal times for sleeping, so I'm told. And not my area of expertise, right? So I'm just gossiping at this point, about what the best hours are. But let's see. But that's really some of why we're not functioning well, is that we need that sleep. And so we get caught up in these loops of unwellness, and we need to sleep more, but we can't go to sleep because our brain keeps doing this, but we need to sleep, and we're kind of in that state where we're not doing the healing work that we could be doing, and the healing that we could be doing has been interrupted. And that's actually what the whole problem is with anxiety, depression, traumatic stress. The healing process has been interrupted, and that's why it's so important to get it moving. All the parts are there. It's just that things are stuck. And so, so let's dive in there. You all know how bad it is to not be able to go to sleep and to be counting sheep and houses and cars and all the things, and not be able to go to sleep. So what happens with the brain is that your inner healer, which is in your prefrontal cortex right there, that part of the brain heals your brain. And it's actually, it heals the subconscious programming. It helps you get rid of beliefs you don't want. It helps you to solve your problems. It is the problem solver. That's where your problem solving is, and it solves all kinds of problems. But and let me tell you something else about that part. That part of the brain really changes the programming of your survival center. That's the part of the brain that can talk to you with your survival center and say, hey, I've been working on this thing, and it seems like we thought that we needed to panic, but I've worked on it now, and we don't. And that's when the survival center will say, oh, really? Okay, well, I guess I'll change my mind then, and we won't panic during those moments anymore. We don't need to have flashbacks or this or that or all the other things of the fight, flight, freeze, and faint. And that's when you get that permanent change, that because that part of the brain that's receiving information is not just doing what it always did with saying, we're in danger, we need to fight, flight, freeze, or faint. And now it's saying, oh yeah, we've already worked on that. Go ahead on in. You're fine. We'll let you pass without freaking out. And that's really one of the best things, because you can really take back your life symptom by symptom, when you help your inner healer do the work that it is absolutely capable of doing. So, but the survival center, before the information gets up there, blocks it. And so it doesn't let your prefrontal cortex, your inner healer, it doesn't let it work on it. And so it never gets to do the upgrade. It never gets to do the shifting and changing that it can do with your survival center to be able to stop the symptoms that you're having. So that's really frustrating. But this is the part about the sleep. We're back there, okay? The part about the sleep is that your inner healer this part of the brain is the most active when you're resting, right? And that's what's happening when you're resting. It's the inner healer is like, oh, time to get busy. Let's go look through all the stuff. Let's go fix all of our problems. And guess what? That part of the brain can't solve any of the problems that it's not aware of. It can't. It's like Dan Siegel who I'm absolutely a fangirl of. Dan Siegel explains it's like a camera. And good evening. Dan Siegel explains it's like a camera, and it can only work on and resolve issues that get in front of the lens. And so and that's with your awareness. And so if you can't bring stuff into your awareness, then that part of the brain can't get it in the frame to work on. And so it takes these moments of when you're resting and you're ready to go to kick up and look through all your stuff. And so it can really heal it, but it's already blocked by your survival center. So when it tries to go in there and work on the stuff that needs to be worked on, your survival center is like, oh my gosh, this is overwhelming, and it will shut it down. And then your inner healer keeps going back and keeps going back, and that's when your mind starts racing around in circles. It can't get the information where it wants it in the thinking center up there where the inner healer is, but it keeps trying. It's gonna keep trying, but it keeps staying here in the emotion center because the survival center is not letting it go. Period. And so your inner healer keeps trying to look at it, keeps trying to do this, and then your mind is just going looping around and round and round and round, and that's a frustrating cycle to be in, right? So, but that's what's going on while you're sleeping, and so the thing is how we treat that, how I treat that, how I make that stop for clients is that we help make sure there's nothing on its list that it needs to be worried about working through, right? And we help the brain. You want to worry about this? Let's worry about this. But we'll worry about this with an intervention at the same time. You want to worry about this? Okay, well, there's lots of strategies to help the brain, the survival center, get out of the way so that the inner healer can actually do the work that it wants to do. And so when you know how to do this, and when you've built those strategies and those skills, you can really help your brain get that information it wants to worry about in there. And so it can finally do it and be done. Because that part of the brain is electrical. Once it can really get in there and solve things, things are moving really quickly. And it's really doing a great job healing them. And then you start getting new ideas and new ideas and new solutions. Anyway, and that's really helpful because we need to solve our problems. Lots of our lives just look like a bunch of unsolved problems that we just keep putting on top of each other over and over again. Kind of like, when you just don't take, I don't know, it's like a hoarder's house, right? But it's the same thing in our minds. Like theirs isn't, like we're doing the same thing if we're not dealing with the stuff that's coming in, and if we're not processing it all the way through, if we're not getting to the problem solving stages and then the action taking stages, which can be where some people are really blocked, then it just starts piling up. And then you're creating more and more dysfunction, and your brain is taking over your anxiety. The hot spots in your brain are taking over more and more places. And then there's fewer and fewer things that you can do, like sleep, and get all those hours of sleep. And so really, that's why it's kind of like one of the best ways to work with that is to empty out the problems. Solve the problems, empty out what's backlogged, right? A lot of us have a lot of stuff that inner healer wants to work on at night because we're not dealing with it during the daytime. We're not dealing with it during times when we could be dealing with it, or perhaps those memories and the events that it wants to go back to are really, really painful for us, and so we're avoiding those and we're suppressing those. And so if we're using avoidance and suppression, and denial, then what happens is we can never bring the problem into the awareness, into our awareness, and into the camera. Right? So that the healing work we can do that, and our brain can finally work through it. And our brains are really, really good at this. I can't stress that enough. But the other piece with suppression is that your mind knows. You're not fooling yourself, and you're not fooling your brain. And as a matter of fact, if you quiet your mind long enough, you'll see exactly what your brain wants to work on. Right? And that's one way to start working on it. Yeah. Maya says childhood. If she's quiet for I'm reading into this a little bit, but she says that if she quiets down and sees what her brain wants to work on, their childhood memories that are embarrassing, right? And that embarrassment emotion, when those things are big like that, your survival center really keeps them out of your awareness and off limits, in quarantine, I call it, because the charge of embarrassment can be so intense that it interprets that as dangerous. We can't be that embarrassed. It's not okay to be that embarrassed. We'll die, or we'll who knows what, right? But all it needs to do is have made that decision, and that healing process is blocked. So those childhood memories are very valuable, because that's where, if your inner healer can get on that and work through that, it will resolve it. It will learn from it. It will create new ideas. It will problem solve. It will show you that it's not actually that embarrassing, that dangerous to be embarrassed, right? When we're on the front end of these memories, we're like, we can't be embarrassed, and we set our lives up like that, and dysfunction starts. On the other side, when the inner healer has gotten through it, it really makes it so that that embarrassment is not a red flag of danger for your survival center any longer. So it just, anytime embarrassment comes up, yeah, it's embarrassment, right? It doesn't feel super fantastic, but it's not a showstopper. It's not going to bring your whole system down. That was one of the things that would make me dissociate. And just, actually, it was more mistakes, perceiving that I've made a mistake. I'm out. Just, I don't know. It's that dangerous that I need to totally disappear, right? Except for not, my body stays here and I'm out. But our brains, we don't get to decide what strategy we're going to use. It's based on the programming that our survival center has already received and is working from. And so those are some ideas. But when we work, what I'm saying is that you're not, and let me tell you what about suppression is that you think you're doing great and you think you've got it all packed up. But let me tell you, from my position, something happens that everything comes to a halt. Everything, it's like the system can't run anymore. And what happens with suppression is your mind is so powerful that if you're not going to look at it, it's going to, like, your mind's going to present it to you in all these other ways. And some of these ways are physical illness. Some of these ways are challenges in your relationship. Lots of the challenges in our relationship is unresolved subconscious brain trash from ourself. Unresolved memories and events from ourself, and it's showing itself in the relationship. I can't tell you, I mean, I'd give that like 95%. 95% of your relational problems are your unresolved emotional issues, and they're trying to come out in all the ways that they can. But let me tell you, it's so much easier if you just face them, right? But let me tell you a truth about this is that you cannot just face them. You can, right? It can be incredibly painful and re-traumatizing to face these things without, some of these interventions that I use are like emotional painkillers. They're ways the body can use it, like they're tricks that you can. I'm sorry, I'm thinking about this the first time. This is the first time I've thought about it like this, so bear with me. But it's like I'm going to back up a little bit. I'm going to tell you from a different angle. Let's pretend we're talking about energy, right? So we have an energy field. I didn't mean to go here. We're off. We're rogue. Okay, we have an energy field. We're being able to pick this up through machinery now, which is cool. So we're learning how it's interacting with the world around us. Apparently, we're interacting with the world around us chemically and energetically all the time. We're finding that we have this heart energy, right? And we have this brain electricity and energy. And Stanford came out with a saying that said that our cells are communicating 10,000 times faster energetically than they are chemically. And so really when we start using our this type of energetic or energy communication with our own body, we can really start creating a lot of change really quickly. So let's just say thoughts that are disturbed that create the same disturbance every time, right? You think of a childhood memory and all of a sudden out comes the embarrassment, right? What I like to think about that is like it's a memory, right? And it's got this charge to it. So it's kind of like this. And this juicy thing right here is what the only thing that your subconscious mind and your survival center are paying attention to. They don't know what's in there. They don't care, but it's got all this bling and it's juicy. And that means it's going to be painful, or there's going to be a lot of emotion in there. And your subconscious mind likes happy things too. So if it's blingy with lots of emotions, it really likes that too. But the survival center is really focused on pain and what's dangerous. And so that juicy thing is painful. So if you think about this thought, which could be an event, right? Events are many, many thoughts, but let's go here. If you think about this, in here, there's a disturbance, like there's a something right here that's an energetic disturbance. And so so every time you think about that disturbance is activated, and out comes the stress response, which is embarrassment in this situation. So when you, these interventions that I have collected, that I like, take this thought and it clears out the energetic disturbance so that it's just a thought. And so it clears out the pain involved. And then we take this thought and we sneak it right past the survival center because it's not paying attention to thoughts that aren't juicy, right? And now it's not juicy. We took the bling off. We scrubbed off all the bling. And now it's just, that's not even fancy enough for me to pay attention to. And so we can get it, and then we can move it into the thinking center and the prefrontal cortex. Voila. That's what I do all day. And that's how we can get stuff that's on your do not touch list, or this will overwhelm me, I can't think about that, or I'm going under list, or oh, these are all the things I need to suppress, or I've been suppressing for years, or I've been trained to suppress by my mom or my grandma or whoever raised me. Everyone suppressed these things, so I suppress these things. I don't even think about it anymore. It's already in my setting, right? So, but things don't heal like that. That's not how it happens. And we can't get our full, this is how you stunt your growth, right? This is how, and why, this is exactly why people feel sometimes like they're 5 or they're 7 or they're 13. And they literally feel like that. And that's why sometimes they don't know they're feeling like that because that's their normal. But sometimes their family members are like, why are you being so immature about this? Or why are you throwing a fit, right? Which is, kind of associated with earlier stages of development. But this is why, because whatever's in here was everything you needed to grow and to upgrade your system, but that upgrade has not yet taken place, right? And so it's just staying there. And so really that's what I do. This is what I do. I help people get whatever's in there into whatever's in there. And this part in there already does its job. We're rocking. And I love it. Anyway, thank you for bearing with me. That was very fun for me. So that's why you can't sleep. Whatever's in there, your brain, this part of the brain is obsessive and compulsive. It's compelled to do its work, and it's obsessed with it. It will do it over and 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 over again. It will get rejected from your survival center over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. It does not care. That's why you're circling. That's why you're stuck in these patterns of these cycles, right? And so that's one of the tricks we have as people that have these issues over here. You know what I'm talking about now. Is we can't let our brain, we can't get still, right? We can't be still, because if we're still, then this part of the brain starts kicking on, and now we're looping. And now we're thinking about all things, but we're not getting anywhere because it can't do the work it wants to do and it could be doing, and we're just stuck. Does that make sense? And that's why you're there at night dealing with stuff and things are coming out and it wants to remember things and it wants to bring up something that you said a while ago or mistakes that you've made, right? And so, but let me tell you what, you work through this stuff, even if you just start working through a little bit and you get that guy busy, it's happy. It's like, oh my gosh, look at the words. Look what I'm doing. I'm doing all the things. And it just is having a blast. I have, one of my clients was telling me today that she, because it's once you do some of the work, the brain is all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'll take it from here, move out of my way, I don't need your help anymore. And so and sometimes that's how it happens, and it's kind of nice because it's like you get to watch your brain reorganize itself. And these moments are the same thing that happen when you're driving the car, because you're relaxing when you're driving, and so now all of a sudden you're having flashbacks, or you're remembering this, and you're feeling that, and you're ruminating, right? But she was just telling me how when she's driving, she can hear her new thoughts, and she can hear things reorganizing, and she's just getting these new insights. She's like, it's happening automatically, and I'm just cheering because I think that's awesome. It's nice when you get freebies. When your brain's just working for you and you don't have to do anything, that's a wonderful place. Absolutely celebratory, like something you could celebrate. And there's other times where you just got to get in there and help it every step of the way, but once you know how to do that, then you can do that for yourself. Right. And that's really, that's why I do what I do, because I want people to be empowered to do this for themselves, because you need it. You don't need it on a therapist's couch. You need it in your everyday life. You need it at night before you go to bed. You need it when you're in your car. You need it when somebody looks at you in a way that makes your body respond. You need it when you're facing your triggers. That's when you need this stuff. And if you keep using things like suppression and whatever, it's just building. Now you're looking at medications to sleep. Now you're looking for this. And it's not supposed to be that way, right? We're not just supposed to have a house full of garbage and just be plugging in those little smell good scents so that it doesn't smell like crap. It doesn't smell like things are rotting, right? And that's what a lot of this stuff is. I'm not against medication. Don't hear me say that. I mean, there are times I've had conversations with my clients like, hey, I think this could really help us get farther along in the work that we're doing. Or it seems like there's more coping going on than healing, and we've been really trying our best. Maybe it's time to consider that, and then we'll work on our coming off of the medications plan, as after we get a lot of this stuff done, so it's not torturing you day and night and day. Because the faster we get through that, the faster you get through this stuff over here, the faster you get free, the faster you get your emotional and mental upgrade, and the faster you get on to living life. And so this is the thing. This is a big deal. And lots of people are sitting on that and letting that go, and they think they're doing a good job getting away with it. I did that. Yes, I did. Caught me at 30, and I couldn't go any farther. That's when I had to get down and do my work. Some of you guys have gotten to 40. Some of you guys have gotten to 50. But do yourself a favor. Get this done. Get that done. You're going to sleep better. You're going to have more control of your mind. Right? When you're in the survival center, you don't have control. It's not in your, that's in your automatic system, your automatic control center. It's running on its own program. You don't get to participate in that. You just have to do whatever it tells you to, because it's overridden your entire system. Right? But once you get stuff in there, I could go on and on, but that's where it's at. That's the jam. That's why you can't sleep. Your brain wants to work. It wants to heal these things. And I tell you, help it. Then you'll get to sleep. And sometimes that looks like lights, but at least you're helping your brain during the long nights. Or you can be doing this stuff during the day. There's lots of ways to do this during the day. That's really a lot of the strategies that I teach, and how I help people to eliminate symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress in 2 to 4 months, 2 to 6 months, instead of 2 to 6 years. I got to figure that out. But that's really what the deal is. And so if this is something you want to talk with me about, then I am happy to talk with you about that as well. So you can grab a spot on my calendar by going to rachelmcleod.com/call. And let's see. Yeah, we'll take a look at what's going on. If I can help you with that, I will absolutely show you how. And if not, we'll figure out your next best steps. So yeah, and that's really an opportunity for people that are ready to take a look at what's going on, right? Some of us are in different places. Some of us haven't even, they're like, this is a newsflash. Like, I had no idea I even had this problem, and really need to sit with that, right? You kind of the contemplation stage, But some of you are ready for action and want to get things done and would like to do them faster than the traditional therapy route. And so that's absolutely what I'm about. So if that sounds interesting to you, go ahead and grab a spot on my calendar. And everybody else, I encourage you to consider what I'm talking about. Think about those things. Maybe not think about all the things that you're suppressing, right? Because what happens if that's where, let's go back there. Okay, I was talking about the interventions that I use are like painkillers. They're not painkillers. They're not. I do eye movements and emotional acupressure interventions, things like that. So they're actually, it's working with the body, because that survival center only cares about that. So let's see. So yeah, so but if you try to go to these things that are really juicy and painful, what's going to happen is that you're going to focus on this, and it's going to activate all this pain. The embarrassment will be triggered, the shame will be triggered. That's really overloaded. And then it's going to start moving up the healing pathways. It's going to get about yay far, and your survival center is going to be like, hold up, what's happening here? That stuff, let go of it. Just like a hot pot, right? It doesn't let you hold on to things. It makes you let it go. And so it says, no, put it back. And then your inner medic is like, okay, I just lost something that was important to me. And it's like, I'm going to go pick it up again. And then, but if you don't have a way to work through this stuff to sneak it past your survival center, it running into the survival center or that pain is not fun. And that can be re-traumatizing. And that's why I don't have people. If you're going to start talking to me about your trauma, I'm going to interrupt you. I'm going to ask you to, let's hold up on that for a second till we're ready to use one of the interventions. Like, let's numb this thing up a little bit. Let's take out some of the pain there, and then we'll get it through the healing pathways. Once it's all the way through, let's talk about it till the cows come home. But if you talk about it before it gets past your survival center, you're in for a beating. And you know what I'm talking about? Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you talked about one of your traumatic events and totally lost your crap? Have you had flashbacks for days afterwards? Have you totally fallen apart, couldn't go back to your therapist's office? Or maybe you told a friend and you couldn't talk to your friend anymore because you were so horrified somebody else knew. Or maybe your heart raced and pounded, and it's just, I just don't, and so what happens that if we don't have these tools, if we use these other strategies, we're stuck in that dance. And every once in a while, something will go through the healing pathways, right? But there's a lot of pain working through that, right? And I like to not have pain. It's my personal preference. And I reflect that in the work I do with clients. And so, but what happens is subconsciously, that loop will reinforce why we do keep suppressing, why suppressing is the way. And suppressing is a really great strategy if you don't want to be rocked and knocked out of your life, right? If you want to, you might as well heal in the safest, easiest way possible, right? I mean, you have this trauma because you took the beating in the first place, right? And the emotional, the pain, you took the pain in the first time. You can't get out of this the same way you got into this. There's no point in beating yourself out of it. Like, let's take it easy. I mean, we can do this stuff really fast, especially if we do it easy. If we really start to take the stress, the pain out of these things, it just happens so easy and effortlessly. Why cause ourselves extra pain? So, but I did want to talk about that loop. I wanted to talk about that loop because I don't blame you for suppressing. We suppress things for very good reasons. We're not stupid. And we've tried before many times, and we learned how painful that was. And we've decided that the pain of suffering over the long haul through suppressing is a lot wiser and smarter and tolerable than going through incredible agony that may not result in healing. Right? So those are some thoughts for me. And so Ma says that would be wonderful to conquer those emotions. Yeah. And you know what? I think I love that because I'm very much a warrior myself, a warrior woman. Like, I want to conquer all the things. And I think and I'm going to change your wording there just because I think it's fun to play with how we look at things. But, we can't conquer the emotions. It's not really possible, especially because they're on our team. Like they let us know when things are good and when things are not good. And they let us know, hey, look out for this or look out for that. But really the deal is we want to keep it moving. This what happens sometimes, this emotional energy can just get so big and it just stays there and it just feels so expanding, or it feels like it's squishing our chest, or it's just bottling up inside. And it's like we need to move that. Nothing is supposed to, just no emotion is supposed to stay, including happiness, which is a bummer, but they flow, they come, they report in, they leave, and that is health. That's good. And besides happiness, there's pleasure, there's joy. I mean, there's all the cousins, so we're good. We don't need happiness to just hang out. But everything's moving, and that's a really healthy state. It's flowing, right? That energy flow, that emotional flow, that's how it's supposed to be. When things get stuck and we can't get them out and resolve, like that doesn't work in our physical form, and it doesn't work in our emotional form either. So, I think it's more about flowing with the energy and getting them to move and be able to work with the energy, the emotion, because um, they're, they're part of your navigation system. And when you can work with them and you start to learn what they mean a lot faster, and you start to get more comfortable with them. So it's not so scary to be scared, or it's not so horrible to feel a emotion of panic, not a panic attack, right? Because those just suck. But panic is an emotion, right? And it can really become okay. Like emotions don't have to be dangerous, and we don't have to take our swords to them, right? Conquer them. But we can allow them to be, especially when we've taken that painful charge off of them. And I sometimes, I'm giving you guys 31 minutes of information. I can just keep nerding out with you, but we'll save that for another video. If you have any questions, I want you to go ahead and post those in the comment box, and I give those. Oh goodness. Okay. Years. I saw more. I saw more comments, and yeah. Again, yes, and food. This is why people eat at night. If you stay busy, you keep that part of the brain off. This is why people smoke marijuana at night. This is why people come home and have beers at night. It is a strategy. Now, nobody says, I'm going to go home and I'm going to turn my prefrontal cortex off. I'm going to make sure that thing doesn't turn on so that I don't have none of these problems. That's not what we say. But that's what we're doing. That's our plan. Our plan is I'm going to go relax. But you can't just relax raw. Like you can't just relax with, sober. No food in your stomach. No TV on. Right? You can't that's not going to help you relax, because let me tell you, when that thing kicks on, you're not going to feel like relaxing. You're going to feel like moving. You're going to feel like crying. You're going to feel like not relaxing. And so if we can keep busy, eating food really keeps the movement going, and you're not resting, right? And it's very little movement, right? It's not like you're at work, walking down the halls or, doing this or that. It's just a little bit of movement, but it's enough to keep that part of the brain out of the woods and from taking you to some pretty dark places. So let's see. So absolutely food. Those are all the strategies. And I think if we can understand from that perspective, we can be less angry with ourselves. We can be more kind to ourselves. We can be more understanding. Like we're trying to make our brains function. And we've got all these tricks that look terrible on the outside, but on the inside we just want to be okay. And this is really one of the best ways to get rid of needing to snack at night, is to just deal with the emotions coming up. Just deal with that. Get through all of this. Like if you get through all of that, it's a whole nother ball game. And it happens all the time. So let's see if there's any more comments. Okay, so I think that's it for me tonight, and it was wonderful hanging out with you all, as usual. Love your comments and your feedback. If you have any questions about this, go ahead and drop them there. I decided to do this because I host a couple of Facebook groups, one for emotional eating and women releasing the baggage of emotional eating. I'm all about releasing the baggage. And my other group is releasing the baggage of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress. Women releasing the baggage of all the things, right? of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress. And in there, and on my page, on my Rachel McLeod LCSW page, I'm listening. I'm looking for this. In one of those groups, someone made a comment about not being able to sleep, and so that's why I'm here. I was like, oh yeah, I can talk forever about that. It's actually the first thing I used for myself. I used one of these strategies with one of these. It was tapping. I was using tapping. That's the first intervention I ever got and a hold of. And so, and it's the one I was like, ooh, I wonder what else is out there. But I laid in bed. I used it for about 2 minutes. I've used 2 rounds. I was really slow. It was my first time. And I was even like, let's see if this even works. And I yawned the first time through. I fell asleep the second time through. And it was really powerful for me. I woke up the next morning. I was like, what else can I try this on? And I just was like using it everywhere, and it helped. And it took me a while to build some deeper strategies, but who cares if you're getting better, you know? So as a matter of fact, while I'm just saying new things that I've never said before, I've been thinking I have a handout for emotional acupressure interventions. The emotional freedom techniques and thought-filled therapy that I like to give out, and it's free. And I've been thinking about what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a email list, newsletter. There we go. Brain's working. And that's going to be my free giveaway. So be on the lookout for that. If you want to join my email list, or you just want to join it and get a freebie, that's fine too. So that's happening in the future. I'll let you know, because I'd love to get that out to you, because you can start using it now. Especially you can weave it into what you're doing, and it's just really wonderful. That's it for me. Good night to all of you, and I will see you later. But since I am running everywhere, I do want to say that your comments do matter. That's what I was saying. That's before I got on all that. Your comments matter, and I am looking at them, and they are some of what's inspiring me to get on and talk about different topics, because I want to help you. I want to share my knowledge with the world. That's what I think one of the wonderful things that we get to do while we're here is share and pick up new things from each other, and drop off some things. So if you let me know what's going on, I can do that. Okay, so take care, all of you, and I'll see you around. Bye.